Oh man. So it's Christmas Eve. Rough news, man. Stephan Bonner passed away. Got the details of cause of death and all that stuff. So I just figured I would pop on here real quick and talk about it. And because I talked a lot about Stephan Bonner recently in an incident where, if you watched it, you could see that there was I guess there wasn't a high likelihood that this guy was going to see 80. You know what I mean? But man, you always we see somebody down and out like that. You always really you root for them to pull it together. And sometimes you could just see, though, you're like, man, this guy, he is so far down the hole. If you know what that hole is like I do, I've never been there, but if you know what it's like to be in that hole, you can look at guys. Sometimes you're like, no one comes back from that. I'm not saying that he couldn't have, but it's I won't bury the lead. The official word, at least that I've seen, is that he died of heart complications. But the source on that was not clear. So it's like one of those things where if someone's like, he was pronounced dead at yada yada, and this is the announcement of the cause of death from XYZ. Those are really reliable. Where when you just see it, it's like, 30 minutes ago it got announced that this guy passed away. And it's being reported it's from heart complications. That doesn't mean for sure that that's what it's going to be. It could be, or it might not be. And before you guys even ask, he had definitely not taken the shots. He definitely had not taken the shots. And I'll tell you, and because that all comes back to the reason why I felt like I should just pop on and do a video, even though it's Christmas Eve, is because Merry Christmas, by the way, everybody. Be grateful for the time that you have, man. And just for your life in general. Because people have it rough, dude. A lot of people have it really, really rough. I always think about that during Christmas. I'm like, dude, I'm the luckiest person on earth. But anyway, when he had that incident at at that hospital, this was, that was one of those things. Again, if you got a trained eye, you're like, dude, this is not heading anywhere good, And and I did a bunch of videos about it. I talked about my own experience with chasing pills around, because that was the thing. I knew exactly what I was looking at, and I would not be even. Matter of fact, I would be surprised if we did not find out in the long run that this was related to, was related to pills of some kind. You know what I mean? They say heart complications, but who knows what that means? You know what I mean? Generally, if you when people, I think when people OD on fentanyl, a lot of times their breathing just gets so compressed to where they just stop breathing. But anyway, yeah. So that video that came out of him, that he put out himself, frantically yelling into the camera because he was at a Las Vegas hospital and he was furious that the doctors would not write him a script for opioids because he had fractured his back in some wrestling match. And, listen, anyone that is even moderately tied into knowing how accessible pain pills are, now or before or whatever, anybody that knows anything about it can tell you that they are increasingly getting more and more and more challenging to get through legal sources, which I have always said is the reason why so many people are dying from fentanyl. It's just is what it is, dude. I would argue that to the end of time, dude. There's no one who could convince me otherwise on that. It's like you can take it back to the genesis where the pharmaceutical companies, went around and did a essentially almost like the current jab, effort. They went around almost to that level to all the doctors in the country and convinced them that anyone with any semblance of pain whatsoever needed to be managed by this new non-addictive miracle drug called Oxycontin. They literally said when they first rolled it out, they said that, and not even first, for a long time, they said that less than 1% of patients who were put on Oxycontin got addicted to it. I mean, you want to talk about an absolutely blatant, absurdly damaging lie. I mean, it's like, but once you've done it and the genie's out of the bottle, the play to fix it is not to cut off everyone's access to pharmaceutical grade, opioids. That's insane. Because what do you think is going to happen, dude? Of course, they're going to go and they're like someone who's hooked on opioids. They're going to find them, dude. Like they're going to get them one way or the other. And if they become too expensive or too inaccessible through, the pharmacy, they're going to go and they're going to start doing heroin or they're going to start doing fentanyl. And a lot of them are going to be doing fentanyl without even knowing it. I don't know that it's an OD. They said as of now, the first report was supposedly heart complications. But who knows? You know what I mean? Like, again, I would be very surprised if there was not some form of like drug interaction here. But yeah, anyway, so getting back to the original, the video, they wouldn't prescribe him any more opioids because he had already had a supply of Vicodin, right? Like he was going, I don't remember. I think he was asking for oxy, but he had hydrocodone and he talked about it in the video. And I remember watching and hearing his logic and just going, man, this guy's in outer space, dude. He doesn't understand. Cause like he had an active prescription to Vicodin, if I remember correctly, like 7.5s. And he was yelling into the camera about how they wouldn't give him a new script just because he had a Vicodin prescription. And I'm like, dude, this guy's not your pain management doctor. You're at the ER, dude. You know what I mean? Like this is just like this. This does not make any sense. Like there is no surprise at all that they wouldn't write this for you. And the fact that he was so frantic. Listen, like I don't know for 100% sure, but I would say 98% sure. What you're looking at is someone who's about to run out of opioids. He knows it. Whoever he gets them from on the street, or maybe he doesn't have money. He can't access them the way that he normally does. And he's like hysterically goes to the ER trying to pull some shit to get him. And he knows that if he can't get them, what's on the other side of that is something I'm sure a lot of you guys know about. But you cold turkey opioids, dude, you do like people just cannot fathom what it's like, dude. Just absolutely cannot even fathom it if you've never done it. And I'm talking high dose cold turkey. Like you go high dose opioids cold turkey. There's no way to describe what it's like to a person who's never experienced it. But what I can tell you is you'll do fucking anything to avoid it. Anything. I mean, within reason, Like I'm not, I was never going to like go suck a guy's cock or anything. You know what I mean? But I certainly might have gone to the doctor and been hysterical when they told me they weren't going to write it for me, because what they're actually telling me is, hey, dude, this is what's going to happen. Now, in my case, that never happened to me. Like I obviously don't take them anymore. And the times that I did that, I did it on my own accord, where I was like, I'm okay. Like this is I never ran out. Like that never happened to me where I just like couldn't get any more. But that's just because I was an extraordinarily high functioning drug addict, where I was very good at knowing, being sure that I would always have enough, and like, being able to go to work and kind of do the, I certainly wasn't excelling versus what I would have been doing otherwise. But knowing what that's like to go through it. And when I see it on another person, like I can instantly recognize what's going on. And that's what it is. And I will tell you right now, I mean, I'm pretty sure this has to be like outside of the, negative algorithm impact at this point. That's exactly what happened with George Floyd. I will promise you that. I'll bet anyone any amount of money. It's not verifiable, but I'll bet them $1 billion. And I'm not talking about his death. I'm talking about the reason that he had the conflict with the police, where if you've watched the full arrest video, where he completely freaked out, like, and he wouldn't get in the car, and he was saying that he was claustrophobic. He's like, I'm claustrophobic. It's because he's not claustrophobic, dude. Well, he probably is claustrophobic because he's enormous and he knows he's going to jail, but that's not it, dude. He's a fentanyl addict. Okay. The second that he gets in the back of that cop car, it's not like a regular person who's like, oh, when am I going to get bail? Like, the second that door closes, he is locked into 100%. He knows he's going to go through fentanyl withdrawal in a cement box with not a single person in the world that gives a solitary fuck about what he's going through. No one to help him, no herbal stuff to help, nothing. Like, just I mean, hell on earth. You can't go lay in the shower, you can't take a bath, you can't you can't, I mean, literally just hell on earth. And so what you're looking at there is absolute sheer terror that you could never understand if you don't understand what I'm talking about. Like, you actually can't, you can't understand. To know that that's what you're facing, like, where if you're an untrained eye and you don't know, you're watching that video, you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Just get in the car, just get in the car. Shut the fuck up, dude. Get in the car. And I watch it. I'm like, I know exactly what's happening here. The fear, the certainty, he he actually can't just get in the car, because any outcome is better than that, But yeah, so I saw the same thing in Stephan Bonner, and I did videos talking about it, and I was like, I hope he gets help. But listen, that was and then he did the videos afterwards, probably in response to mine, honestly, because those videos got a lot of views, dude. Like, where I talked about that I thought that that's what was going on, and he did a video talking. I can't remember. It might have been Chael that interviewed him. Someone interviewed him, and he responded directly to that the reason he was freaking out was because he was trying to get opioids, and he said that's not what it was. So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I doubt it, but it's possible. But in that video too, he was just wrecked, dude. He was wrecked, and it seems like he was also physically wrecked, of course. Like, I'm not discounting the damage done. Well, you know what? I'm not discounting any reason that anyone gets hooked on anything. That's the whole thing. Like, when I say somebody's like down a bad spot when it comes to addiction, like, I'm not throwing rocks at him. Like, I'm not talking negatively about them as a person at all. I'm just observing something that I know about, where it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like if you're a marathon runner and you look at a guy and they got 3 miles left, and you look and you could just to like gauge how tired they are. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing I can think of is, like, you can see, you're like, that guy's still got some gas left. He might be able to like finish this race out strong. And there are other times you look at a guy, you're like, this guy's got fucking nothing, man. Like, this race isn't going to end well for him. And that's what I saw in Bonner, and that, in those two things where I looked, I'm like, fuck, man, this is not good, dude. This is not good, And wait, hang on. I'm going to respond to this really quick because someone just said something. Someone just said, subs are, this is 100% accurate. Actually, it is much harder to get off Suboxone than it is fentanyl. It's actually not even comparable. Tremendously harder to get off Suboxone than it is fentanyl. And listen, arguing with me about this is basically equivalent to arguing with Dana White about the ins and outs of the fucking mixed martial arts business. Like, this is not up for debate. It's a fact. Fentanyl, you could suck it up and you could take hell on earth for 3 days and you'll be fine. Like, you'll be, listen, it's going to be the worst thing that you've ever dealt with in your entire life. But the length of time that it lasts is tolerable. Anyone can suck it up through 3 to 4 days if you fucking man up. Okay. Anyone can do it. But like, and I can tell you, I've gone through that. And that was actually the last one I ever did. And the reason though, is because I was on, and I was on Suboxone for a while, like a good fair while. And I got my dose really, really low. But for a while, I would basically use Suboxone just as like an insurance policy to make sure that I would never go through withdrawal. Like if I was taking pills and I had Suboxone, I'm like, all right, well, I mean, honestly, that's why I never actually had that happen. So I'm like, okay, well, if I run out of pills, I'll just take Suboxone. And, but there were also long periods where I just took Suboxone, didn't take pills. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. But so with hydrocodone, oxy, and stuff like that, you can quit those cold turkey and immediately go on to Suboxone, like same day. Stop taking oxy, start taking Suboxone, and you're good. Now, I had always heard about this thing called precipitated withdrawal, where like if you take Suboxone too soon, it'll actually send you into absolutely catastrophic withdrawal because Suboxone would like apparently like take the opioids off the receptors all at once. And I was like that. I'm like, whatever. I don't know. That doesn't apply to me, dude. That's it. I mean, I've tested this a lot. That doesn't happen to me. And then I went through a consistent period where I was taking what I knew to be fake oxys that were actually fentanyl. And then then when I got off, I took Suboxone thinking that it was going to be the same thing. And I went into precipitated withdrawal where I went from cool to in full throttle fentanyl withdrawal inside of 45 minutes of having taken the Suboxone. That's the one that did it for me. I was like, I'm fucking done with these, dude. Like, done. But again, it's a few days. Okay. If you try to go off of Suboxone, like if you're on like a really, like not even a super high dose, like if you try to cold turkey 8 milligrams of Suboxone, you'll be in withdrawal for fucking 6 weeks, dude. 6 fucking weeks, dude. It's like, who the fuck could deal with that? Now, I went from 8 milligrams of Suboxone all the way down to about 0.5 milligram a day. It took me 10 months, dude. 10 months of cutting my dose every whatever. I don't know. Probably, I think I was doing it like every maybe like 5 to 7 days because I would like cut my dose. I wouldn't be able to sleep for 2 nights very well. I'd always, I'd wake up and I'd go lay in the shower for half the night. But I wasn't, and then my body would even out, and then I would wait in it like 2 or 3 days, and I would cut it a little bit again. But that's 8 milligrams to 1/2 in fucking 10 months, dude. 10 months. I mean, I don't know how to answer this, like, because I'm not like I'm not one of these like abstinence guys, Like I was drinking wine on here last night. I take Adderall sometimes. I just can't take opioids. Like opioids are like it's just like, that's the one thing that gets away from me every time. Like I like them too much. It's just as simple as that. So like those ones, it's like some people, it has to be all the way, dude. Like it just has to be all the way. It's like all or nothing. I'm either completely fucking dead sober or I'm a whatever. And for me, I'm not like that. Like I take Kratom. I'll take Adderall here and there. Although I actually really don't like taking Adderall anymore because it makes me shitty at jiu-jitsu. Like I always would have thought that it would be the opposite of that, right? Like because Adderall makes you incredible at golf, right? And generally speaking, like you kind of think of yourself on Adderall as like this enhanced version of yourself. And it is the exact opposite for jiu-jitsu. For me, for whatever reason, like I am much, much, much better at jiu-jitsu when I'm not on anything at all. Like I just, clear mind. It makes me much, much better. And, yeah. So But like I said, yeah, I mean, I take kratom. Kratom is kind of how, like, that's how I don't do pills, you know? And like for me, the way that I would always fall back into them every time, dude, is I have absolutely, I don't have another word for it, catastrophic restless leg syndrome. Like indescribable, dude. And anybody, and I know people are like, restless leg's not a real thing. Fuck you, it's not, dude. And for me, it kicks in when it's like the more tired I am, the worse it gets. So it's like torture. And the only thing on planet Earth that really cures it are opioids. It's the only thing. There's nothing else. Like there's like nothing. I've tried everything, dude. I was taking a prescription medication that's like for people who have fucking not epilepsy, Parkinson's disease. And it still did, and that shit didn't even work. And like you take a half a fucking Norco, gone. It's just gone. It's just fucking gone. It's like it is literally like a miracle for that stuff. But I'm biologically wired for pills, like for those kinds of pills in a way that is like there's no like responsible management of those kinds of pills for me. And I'm pretty fucking disciplined about shit, dude. Like in most cases, I'm pretty disciplined, but those get away from me just because I don't know. I was born like my chemistry is like my brain is like a puzzle piece that opioids just fit perfectly in. It's like how you feel. I'm like, oh, how do I feel? Fucking amazing, dude. You know? Did this channel save me in a way? No. I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, I've never really thought about that. I mean, there could be a case made that it certainly helps because, you know, any other reason, like another reason that, you know, people fall into it is they're, you know, they like their life is shit, you know, and making money does not solve that. That's the thing is like, at least in my case, it's like if I have a job that I hate and I'm making a shitload of money, I'm way more likely to be like, fuck, man. I just need something to like make me feel better than like making way less money, but doing something that I actually genuinely care about. Cause like, you know, cause I'm focused on, it's like jujitsu, the channel, you know, this project, whatever. Like that's the juice for me. So I don't know. I hadn't really ever thought about it, but I'm like, again, I was about to say I'm never getting hooked on those things ever again, but I just don't like making ridiculous proclamations because I feel like it's a jinx, but I have it under control. But yeah, I mean, like, so I don't know how I ended up talking about myself for the last hour, but Stephan Bonner, I guess that as a, you know, a prerequisite for credibility on looking at someone who clearly had a pill addiction, you know, it's just one of those things like when you look at Stephan Bonner in those interviews, you're like, how does this have like, what's the positive outcome here? Like, how could this end up a positive outcome? You know, does he go to rehab? He gets clean. And then what does he do? You know what I mean? Like, what does he do? Cause that's something that I've been talking about starting this Jesse on Drugs channel forever. This is like, I mean, this is exactly what it would be like, you know, it's why I wanted to start the channel is so I could talk about this stuff because like, I know about it, you know, but like for some people, it's like I like who I am. I've always really liked who I am, you know, and so I'm very lucky in that capacity. And then also generally not like my entire adult life, but most of my adult life, I've been pretty content with what I'm doing. Like, I don't know, professionally and personally. So like I get out of whatever kind of thing that I have going on with those. And I would just be like, whew, Jesus, what the hell was I doing? And I'm like, let's go kick the world in the balls. Where I think about this all the time. Like where people who are like, who have been addicts since they were teenagers and they're like 30, they have no college education. They have no like real work experience. It's like, okay, they go kick the shit. And then it's like, all right, go live life. And they're all, what am I like? And seriously, you're like, what are they supposed to do? You know what I like? What are they like? They're building from from zero. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. It's just a lot harder for people like that, I think. And like with Stephan Bonner, that's kind of my point, is like he kicks, he gets clean. He's a former fighter. He has tons of physical problems. You know, he doesn't have a lot of options for what he's going to do. And it's just like, man, this just looks like it's not going to have a good outcome, you know? Esteban Razo, thank you very much. I've had restless leg syndrome about once a month. If I don't take heavy dose of NyQuil, I'll be up for 36 hours. Yeah, dude, it's terrible. Well, don't listen. I hope I'm doing a good job of saying that, like, when I say opioids fix it, I am not in any way suggesting that that's a good solution at all. You know, Levi, thank you very much. Thanks for the convo. Opioids always took my life. Big pharma drugs are for real. Never again. Yeah, dude. Yep. I'm glad you got clean, dude. I'll tell you one thing. Like, one thing that I would say about that too is like, there are ways that you can kind of cheat the system, not cheat the system, but like certainly make it easier on yourself. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to kick opioids, there are ways to make it easier on yourself. Now, I did Ibogaine also. And that is one that will keep you off. I mean, if you have an experience like mine, that'll keep you off, dude. But it's like you don't go, or I didn't go through like the really heavy physical withdrawal, but I got a spiritual psychedelic kick in the balls that was like, hey guy, here, let's just remove all the lies you tell yourself. And here you go. What do you want to do? It's like, Jesus. But on the flip side of that, I think that going through a gnarly physical withdrawal is very, very valuable, because all that matters is if you stay off, and you want to be fucking scared, dude. Like fear is a good motivator to be like, I mean, listen, I love those, but I'm never going through that shit again, you know? And that's honestly, I don't know if I ever would have fell into them ever again. Like I went through it one time. I'll tell you that story in a second. Actually, let me do these. All right. So JB, thank you very much, sir. UFC loves Forrest and illuminates him at the PI. But why did they abandon Bonner? Oh, that's simple. Forrest is a very responsible professional person, and Bonner was not. You know, Bonner, it wasn't just the pills with Bonner, dude. Like Bonner, I'm not going to pull this up right now given the circumstances. But like, did you ever see Bonner's DUI arrest video? He's like, I mean, everybody has a buddy who like, I mean, it's bad, dude. It's really bad. Like he had a serious substance abuse issue. I mean, like, again, one of those ones that you look at and you're like, fuck, man, this is not going nowhere good. But yeah, I mean, the UFC didn't, I mean, listen, dude, like the UFC can't be expected to, you know, to take care of people like that. If they have nothing, like, you know, they have nothing to offer. Like, it's like, I guarantee Forrest has, like, from the very beginning found genuine ways to add value to the organization that he was participating, or, you know, that he was a part of throughout. And he was so valuable and personable, and everybody liked him and they trusted him. And so they elevated him. You know, he's a professional. You know, there's no, like, the only reason that him and Bonner are in any way connected is because of their fight, which was obviously, and I should have let off with that. That's one of the, I mean, it is certainly arguably the most legendary fight in UFC history. I watched it live, dude. I watched it live. I wish I would have known back then, you know, that like the UFC wasn't really crushing it yet. You know, now that I know a little bit more about their actual kind of corporate growth and all that's like where they really were then, because before Ultimate Fighter, I had a hair up my ass for years. I'm like, I should just go to Vegas and just volunteer myself for Dana and just be like, I'll fucking work for free for the first 6 months to demonstrate value, you know? And now knowing where they were at then, that shit would have worked for sure. You know, he would have been like free fucking work all day, dude. Cause they weren't, you know, until then they started to get profitable. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But like, yes. Thank you for the super chat. New separate channel. Thank you, dude. but yeah, I mean, so I mean that's why Bonner and him were very different. But so the other thing too, that I was going to tell you, Joshua, thank you so much, man. That is very generous. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you all you guys for all the support this last year and before. It's been the growth has been overwhelming, and I genuinely really appreciate it, all of you guys. So just to finish that story I just alluded to, where I was saying like it's, you know, the how the fear can keep you off. So the first time that I went through it, I like it was I didn't know any tricks. I didn't know any tricks to kind of ease it, to make it easier. It was like I described for, you know, for George Floyd, like dude, you're doing basically nothing to help yourself, dude. Kenneth Smith, thank you very much, man. Much appreciated, dude. And I had no idea what it was going to be like going in. I think I kicked from about like probably 12 Norcos a day, cold turkey. And oh my God, dude, it was, as I'm sure a lot of you know, horrifying. The worst thing I'd ever dealt with ever then. And afterwards, and like the experience for me was always so weird. It was like I would be in hell, and then boom, it's over. And I went from, oh my God, I'm gonna die, to wait, I think I feel a little bit better. And then inside of an hour, dude, I could do 1,000 fucking push-ups, and I'd be like, I'd have my headphones on and I'd be running around the block. Like it's like all the fire that lives in me had been like compacted into something that I couldn't access. And the second that the withdrawal would end, it would explode into me. And I was just like, every time I'd be like, I'm going to, you know. And so I went through it one time, and it was so gnarly that, and I was like, I'll literally never take one of those again. And I remember it was, I had laid in the shower for so many hours, letting the water just pound me, because it's the only thing that even could make me feel even a little bit better, that I gave myself an ear infection. And so it was right after I had kicked, right? Like literally we're talking like days. And I had to go to the doctor because I had an ear infection. And I remember I was in there, and the guy has no idea how I got the ear infection. And he offered me Vicodin, and I laughed. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good, dude. I'll make do. And I remember just being like, dude, I could literally, like you could put me in a bathtub full of Vicodin and I would never take one of those ever again. And so for about, I think like 4 years, I never took one, like never, and like never even thought about it. It was never, I would have never fucking taken one ever again. And then I got a Pseudomonas infection in my eye. And anybody who knows, I mean, I don't know, probably not a lot of ophthalmologists in here, but a Pseudomonas infection is super fucking gnarly, dude. Super gnarly. Frederico, thank you so much, man. Thank you very, very much, man. I really appreciate it. Let me just answer this really quick. JB, thank you so much. Favorite sneaks of all time, and where can I order the toke from? Spike my interest in UFC from an 8 to a 10. Best channel. Thank you so much, man. Wait, so where can I order that toke from? Canada? Does anyone know? I don't really understand what he's asking you guys. If someone could chat and help, that would be amazing. But my favorite sneakers of all time are honestly, I think I own them, dude. They're the military gray Jordan 4s. I'll show you I'll show you them right now. Oops. I saw Kamaru Usman wearing them on in an Instagram post, and I was like, dude, those are so fucking sick. I'm like, I gotta get them. And they're the most expensive shoes I ever bought. But these. Yeah, these ones. They're so sick, dude. But anywho, so yeah, thank you again for the super chat. And So the bottom line is, I mean, long story short, the Pseudomonas infection was actually eating through my eye. My dad's an ophthalmologist. The first surgery he ever did as an ophthalmologist was removing a person's eyeball, completely removing their eyeball because the Pseudomonas infection had eaten through their eye and it was unusable. Like it like eats your flesh and it gets in your eye. So to try to describe the pain I mean, it's, you know, it's not like going through withdrawal, but like the sharp acute pain hurt so bad, dude. And I basically like, you know, like got in this doctor's face and I was like, I need you to give me something for this. And they wrote me a script for like 25 Vicodins or something like that, like 500s. And I remember taking it without even thinking, like, just like whatever, like anything to make this not hurt. And I remember the first night I hadn't taken any in like probably over 4 years. And I remember the first night being like, man, I used to like this. This just feels fucking weird. It just felt very weird and foreign. And then the next day, second day I took it, it was like, oh, I remember. Oh, I remember this. And that's what it takes. It's literally like that. That's what it's like. If you're wired for it like me, that's a wrap right there. You know, you could basically there's no you don't need to speculate. But I get to day 2, and that's the experience I have. It's a wrap, dude. 6 months later, I'll be like, I can't believe I fucking got hooked on these again. How the hell did that happen? You know? Scam bait nonsense. Thank you, sir. I remember when Mikey Burnett came back from being an alcoholic to do Tough 4. He didn't win, but it was cool to see someone bounce back. Dude, I've told this. I agree, and I've told this story on the channel before, and I'm going to actually double down on how cool this is, though. My favorite moment ever in UFC history, for obvious reasons, as I just explained to you guys, my history and understanding this was in like 220, I think it must have been 2007, maybe 2007, 2008, when Frank Mir was the UFC champion, and then he was riding a motorcycle. He got in that huge, crazy accident. He broke his femur in half. And so he was out for a really long time. And when he came back, I could tell, like, he looked lethargic. He looked a little out of shape. He was moving slow, and he's a fire guy. Like, if you like the real Frank Mir, you know, he would go in there and he'd grab like arm or whatever. And he'd just be like, and he'd win and he'd get up in his face. Like I could see fire in guys, you know, like he's a guy that has fucking a raging inferno inside of him when he's himself. And I could tell that when he came back, he was lethargic and the fire was gone. I knew it. I was like, he's hooked on pills. I could just, I'm like, dude, big injury. He's coming back. I know what they do to me. That's what he looks like. He looks like a shell of himself. And I guarantee it's fucking painkillers. People are looking at me like, you know, this is like before this was a like much more like well-known issue, you know? And I remember before one of his fights, he had quit and he was completely sober. God, what fight was that, dude? Anyway, they made they made the whole package about the pre-fight about that, where it was like Frank Mir's back. Dude. God, what fucking fight was that? I need to figure that out, like which one it was. Anyway, but he won in the first round. Anyway, I got to ask him about it, you know? Like I get to actually tell him in person, because that shit was so dope. Gotta go back. I swear it's got to be 2007. I think it was Hardonk. I'm pretty sure it was Anthony Hardonk. Yeah. Yes, that's exactly. Yeah, August 07. So he won by submission in a minute and 17. That's the one, dude. And he got up and pointed at Dana. He's like, I fucking told you. It's great, dude. Bo, thank you very much. And JB, this thank you, dude. You can order this on Venom, like the Venom website. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like, man, that Bonner, I mean, Bonner was in a bad spot, man. It just doesn't make it any less tragic though. It's like, and it's just crazy how like some people, you know, they like, it's obviously hard for everyone after they get done with their career. I mean, of course, you know, of course it's extremely challenging because they go from like, they're basically on this, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's really like not dissimilar from being in a traveling circus, you know, even though obviously they, you know, they go to their own camps and they train to fight and all that, but they're celebrity. I mean, they are obviously, they're legit celebrities, like celebrities, you know, you go out with them, fucking everyone knows who they are. And they know who they are because, you know, they're professional fighters. Like you hang out with Anthony, like fucking everyone knows him, dude. Everyone knows who he is. And like, and it's just one of those things where like, it's so bizarre that like, and all professional athletes where all of a sudden they just can't do it anymore. They just can't do it anymore, you know? And like in fighting and sometimes in football, primarily fighting, not only can you not do it anymore, you are wearing it, dude. Like your body is hurt, you know, like in a lot of cases, your brain is rocked sometimes. And if you don't, you know, if you don't slide into something new that's going to be like kind of positive for you. I mean, a lot of them, of course, can go into coaching, but some of them don't want to coach, dude. That's not what they want to do. And I don't think that there's anything more painful in the world to a man, to a man, than empty space without purpose and no line of sight to any way to get it. You know, like, I mean, I've gone through a lot of really fucked up shit in my life, but I only went through that for about, I don't know. Well, depending on how I looked at it, I mean, compared to like, you know, long period, not super long, but long enough to know exactly what it feels like to look at your future like this is hopeless. I've made every decision wrong, whether it's circumstance or not. In my case, it had to do with them, you know, like selling my company and all that. And then like the industry disappears. It's just whatever, you know. But looking in front of you and not being able to see anything that could possibly resemble a life with purpose, where you're happy about the decisions that you made and you're happy with the things that you've accomplished and you're happy with the things you're going to accomplish in the future. Like if there's no line of sight to that at all. And I'm talking like, if you have a steady job and you have your bills paid and stuff, and you have these ideas of things in your head that you might want to do later, like, you know, oh, you know, like I think I'll be great at whatever, stand-up comedy, or, you know, I might want to write a book or whatever. Is if you have a regular job that you don't care about really, or actually even if you hate, and you have those ideas in the back of your head, that's enough to keep people like sane, because they're not in need of like, how am I going to pay my bills? If you take away that I have my bills met, I don't really know how I'm going to be able to solve that. And then you make the dreams totally unattainable also. And so there's no line of sight to how you're even going to like make your life work. You know, and you have a family that relies on you. There's there's nothing that hurts more than that. Nothing. And it's just crazy. So many people are going to come out of their career and actually have to experience that for themselves. You know, most of them will figure it out, but some of them won't, dude. You know, some of them won't. Bonner looked like one of those guys that, you know, like I said, I mean, I try to visual. I'm like, what's a good outcome for him, dude? You know what I mean? How could I, what do I root for as the outcome for this guy? You know? I just saw someone up there say someone was calling withdrawals a little discomfort. I assume you're not talking about me, because I definitely didn't say that. But yeah, someone just said I'm pushing a drug on this channel. That's true. And you should get it at yokratom.com if you're going to buy it. They're one of my sponsors, and I highly recommend it. If you are a person who deals with the same thing that I'm talking about here, as a matter of fact, I actually never talk about it. I don't ever promote it and talk about it in the same video. Like I'll talk about it as, what like the website and that you can get it there. I don't ever talk about the actual thing itself in the same video as when I promote the thing. They're saying they're saying that they're saying it's heart complications. You retired at 46 and have no purpose. Okay, so you were you were broke and didn't know how you were going to make money and retired? Because that's not what I'm talking about. If you have money, it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about don't know how you're going to meet your basic needs in the long term and simultaneously have no purpose. But yeah. I mean, listen, like it's also the same kind of thing where like the reason I talk I don't know, sometimes people will be like, man, like how do you get to a place where you can talk so openly about this? And I'm like, I mean, honestly, I just assume that the majority of people have dealt with something like this. Like, as a matter of fact, like when I meet people who have never in their life dealt with like any kind of substance abuse issues, I'm like, never? Like, no, never, man. Really? Like, I'm not saying like you had to like have like a really heavy struggle, but you've never thought to yourself like, man, I probably drink too much. I should probably do something about this. Nope. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, never. Like, I don't look at that. Like, I don't look at the person who's like, oh yeah, I struggled with this as like there's no hierarchy there. It's like, oh, well, this guy who's never had a problem with drugs, he's obviously the better man. Like, I just don't look, I don't see it as a negative. The only thing that I see as a negative is people who can't own their shit. You know what I mean? Like the way I look at the world is like, if you could talk about something confidently, it's completely irrelevant what you're talking about, with a handful of exceptions that drug addiction certainly is not in, but man, I mean, I wonder, like, I have no idea what Bonner's like support system looked like. I mean, listen, dude, he was with Fabia, right? Like he's one of the Fabia guys. So I don't know. I mean, actually, Diego was with Fabia, and Diego definitely has a strong family support system, which Fabia was actively trying to, annex from him. But Bonner, I mean, I don't know, man. That video when he went into the hospital, dude, and then he was like, and then he's yelling into the camera, like, oh my God, I forgot about the jab stuff. Where they were like, dude, Bonner, are you like, well, they won't serve me because I'm not vaccinated. And then he was yelling at the doctor that the reason he is alive is because he wouldn't let anyone give him a COVID shot. I was like, bro. I mean, I am certainly no advocate of the shot, but like, dude, know your audience. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking to a medical professional and you're like, you literally just yelled at him that you are a person who thinks that if you take the shot, you're going to just die. And listen, again, I'm not getting in. I am not an advocate of the shot at all. I'm just saying, like, if what you're trying to do is get the doctor to write you a script, probably in the top 3 worst things that you could say behind, I just fucked your mom. And if you write me this prescription, I'm going to commit suicide with it. You know what I mean? It's like, just fucked your mom. I'm going to commit suicide with this prescription. And then right under it, the COVID shot is killing everyone if they take it. It's like, okay, you just sealed it. They're not doing you a single fucking favor in the world, dude. But yeah, dude, on this right here, on the methadone and Suboxone. I mean, listen, dude, think about it like this. If anyone differentiates between like this pharmaceutical company versus this pharmaceutical company, and I'm not saying that there's no culture difference between the different pharma companies, But I think that if you find yourself feeling an overwhelming amount of trust and loyalty for any big pharma company, I would say that that is extraordinarily misplaced. And if you are looking for reasons to be very, very suspicious of anything they say or their motives in every single scenario, I think that you will find an abundance of evidence to support that position. And when it comes to like, so if you look at like and the reason why I say this, like, I'm sure that some people are like, well, you can't just judge the whole pharmaceutical company, the whole pharmaceutical industry for the oxycodone thing because it was being driven by Purdue Pharma, which is, I mean, yes, it was originally Purdue Pharma, and then every other company jumped on it too because there was so much money in it. They don't like, you know what I mean? You think that these motherfuckers didn't know that Oxycontin is actually addictive? Only 1% of people, less than 1% of people get addicted. Oh, is that right? And so what was your study? Like one person, and then you only studied him for 2 days. They're all, listen, man, no one got addicted. They're all, how long was your study? They're all 48 hours. You're like, okay. But the reason why I bring that up is because of this methadone thing. It's like, okay, so anytime there's any physical problem, anything medical, any part of the body, any kind of anything, the pharmaceutical company is going to look for a way that they can create a product that's going to address that problem. Obviously, that's their entire business model, right? And if the product is not necessarily the healthiest way to deal with it, that's not their concern. As long as they can make it healthy enough that they're not going to go to jail for it or whatever, right? And that really, I mean, that's what people, it's like, I mean, I don't need anyone to understand anything. But if you want to understand the way the world actually works, that is how it works. If you believe that there is a person in an executive position in a big pharma company that is looking at this option, which by all objective measure is not the healthiest way to deal with a problem, and there's a much better way to do it, but you can't patent it or whatever, that they are going to go to their board and go, I don't think that we should launch this product or use our marketing dollars to promote it because vitamin D does the same thing. If you believe that there is a single executive in any big pharma company that would do that, you're wrong. You're wrong 100%. Every single one of them will go and they'll promote this stuff. They'll do, and it's not like they just market it. They'll go to all the media companies, Vanguard, BlackRock. These companies own the pharmaceutical companies and they also own the media. And they'll basically make not just that they're marketing a specific drug anymore. They will make the entire messaging in the mainstream media cater to a specific outcome, which is going to be the adoption of a specific therapeutic that they own. And if people really don't understand that, I don't understand how you can't see that. And I promise we're going to get to the methadone in a second. Like someone posted something on Twitter that I responded to earlier, where they were like, it was about Elon Musk says that programming AI to lie could lead to like catastrophic outcomes. And I looked at that, I'm like, okay, but here's the thing, dude. Like normalizing lies in the media at all, because it was about media. Normalizing lies at all is equally dangerous as if it's an AI machine doing it, because right now our media works exactly like an AI system, like a machine learning system. And I'll give you like a 90, or maybe not even 90 seconds, a 30 to 90 second crash course on how machine learning actually works so that I can make the point that I'm going to make. So like if you have so let's say that you were going to use an AI driven machine learning system to recommend songs that you might want to listen to on Apple Music. And by the way, this is exactly how it works. Okay. They'll have a million pieces of criteria that determine what genre or what types of songs that you like. And every time you pick, it'll kind of go, okay, this genre of music, this kind of thing, whatever. And it's just a filtering system. And so it's like, this goes in his queue, this goes in his queue. Okay. This one goes in its queue. And as you thumb up and thumbs down, the system, machine learning, just keeps notating it. And all they're doing is just taking these different attributes that these songs have, and they're matching it up to what's allowed to go on your playlist. So if you think about like the mainstream media as the playlist that is going to go out and everybody's going to consume this media, they literally just go like this. Hey, this filter right here, which is anything negative about this drug, that's off. Like like, no, nothing. And it's like, oh, this thing, oh, this is an alternative to that. Okay, well, and not only is that not on, but any story that's going to speak negatively about that option is on. Okay. If you have someone who is protesting against something that is going to benefit us, that's off. The machine learning, no, that can't ever be on a mainstream media platform. If it's a story about someone discrediting someone who's protesting against something that we like, that goes on. It's literally just like a playlist. It works exactly like a machine learning system. And so I just look at it, I'm like, it's already AI. It's exactly what an AI system would be. They will lie, they will confuse you, they will disallow any stories that are going to go against the outcome that they want. And that is how this goes. That's why people who only watch mainstream media, I literally look at them and I'm like, I don't understand how your opinion could be so ill-informed, because one of the main things that they'll also pump in that playlist is anyone who disagrees with the stuff that we're feeding you is a nut job conspiracy theorist. And so like, as soon as you even disagree with one of them, their brain defaults to nut job conspiracy theorists, and they're not even listening to you. Like, you can literally prove all of the things that you're saying, and they're not getting to sentence number 3. Not, sentence that you're like, oh, you disagree with that? And then sentence 3, they've tuned out. And all they're thinking is, when is this guy going to stop talking so I can tell him what an idiot is? And so the reason why I bring that up is just to demonstrate like how, are these like, so these people that do this, are these good people? Like, do they have the best interest of anyone at heart? No, they have a protocol, which is addressing physical problems with something they can sell. Okay. So when it comes to addiction, right? When it comes to like dealing with opioid addiction, which they created, and their options are research and deploy, ibogaine, which will help people go through withdrawal painlessly, let's not say painlessly, but like makes it much easier, and then put them on some kind of protocol of psychedelics, low dose that has been proven to be effective, in many cases. They'll never do that. They'll never do that. How is that? Because you can grow your own mushrooms, right? Or like whatever. Like they're never going to do that. Okay. They might do something if they could figure out a way to make it like chemically unique psilocybin that they then trademark, okay, or patent, and then they can make illegal the kind that you would do, so they can corner the market. That's the only way that it would happen. But what they do is they make a stronger opioid that's 10 times harder to get off, okay, like methadone or like Suboxone. And they put that down the channel to where they're like, oh yeah, we're addressing drug addiction, right? They're on methadone. They're not on heroin. Anybody who's ever taken methadone, how does that feel compared to any other, opioid? Pretty fucking identical, right? And then in Suboxone, they're like, oh yeah, and not only will it keep them from going into withdrawal, it also makes it to where they couldn't get high if they did take the opioid, which is true. And it's like, but no one asked the second question. So, well, how exactly does that work? Like, how does that work? What do you mean they can't get high? How does that work? It's like, oh, it just won't work. And you're all, okay, right. But like, how does it work? They don't want to answer that, because the answer is, well, they'll just block your ability to produce the chemicals in your brain that make you feel high, which is everything that makes you feel happy, right? So like, yeah, that's true. You take Suboxone, yeah, you're not going to go in withdrawal, and you also won't get high if you take Norco, but simultaneously, you will feel happy and excited about fucking nothing. You'll feel like someone reached into your gut and just took all the excitement, all the passion, and all the happiness out of your body forever. And you don't realize that until you've been on for long enough to where if you quit, you're going to go through withdrawal for fucking 3 months, which is impossible. And so they got you locked. They've got people locked for life. Okay. And methadone, there's only 2 opioids that you cannot take ibogaine to quit. Okay. Ibogaine will not work on 2. Guess which ones they are: methadone and ibogaine. You think that's a fucking accident? They accidentally made the 2 opioids that they're the one that they get prescribed to addicts that are the most impossible to get off. I'm sure that's an accident, dude. I mean, evil comes to mind, but more so, they're just following their incentive structure without any regard for people. And it's really easy when it's about drug addiction too, because you can, like these fuckers, they can just look down their nose at all their addicts, man. Like, hey, at least they're not going to be doing heroin. And you're like, okay, well, you think that maybe there are people who might be on drugs and want to get all the way off? Like, they might want to get off, right? Like, why don't you make a therapeutic that's actually going to help them get off of opioids? Oh, what's the percentage in that? We want them on. We just want them on our shit. We don't want them overdosing. So You know, we don't want them to die because then we don't make, you know, we don't want them to die. You're all, why? Because you care about people. No, then we can't make any money off them. We don't want them to fucking die. We want them hooked for life. So, and listen, I have had this conversation with people. People are like, dude, Suboxone saved my life. I'm not saying not to do it. I'm just telling you, you'll never get off. I mean, it'll be very challenging. I mean, I got off, but it'll be very challenging to get off. Extraordinarily hard to get off. But yeah. Oh, someone just said that right now. Sub save your life. Yeah. Like I said, I've heard that. I'm not saying not to get on. I'm just saying they could do Suboxone. They could have the exact same thing and make it very short acting. Okay. So you don't actually disagree with me. What I'm saying, I'm not saying that there's no chemical solution. What I'm saying is they make the half-life so long that it ensures a withdrawal that is impossible to get off of for people. They could do the exact same thing. They could make the half-life really short. And that way, when you wanted to get off, it wouldn't be that hard, as opposed to making it impossible, because you take it every day anyway. So the short half-life would be irrelevant. The thing about Suboxone is the half-life is so long, and they know this, that even if you're taking a consistent dose, you're actually you're bumping up how hooked on it you are, because it builds up in your head, because you don't go through it as fast as you take it, which of course is also on purpose. Like, there was a girl that was doing Ibogaine, that was trying to get Ibogaine treatment for Suboxone. She had not taken Suboxone for 7 weeks before she came in to do Ibogaine. And she still went through complete and total withdrawal the entire time. She went back home, was still in withdrawal when she got home. Like, it's like, anyway. But yeah. Anyway, that's what I got. I've probably been talking about this long enough. It's really tragic about Stephan Bonert. Hopefully his family's okay, but condolences to his family, and guy's a legend. Anyway, that's what I got. Love you guys.